Welcome.
Hello. Hello, Ampelis, Mr. Ampelis. Let's see.
You're the first one.
Let's see.
Okay,
I think you're muted. And Maddie is joining.
Yeah, don't put me in any of the work groups because I'll be in a session.
Okay.
Okay, good to know.
Good luck
Good
with
to know.
that.
Hi, Maddie.
Maddie. Almost here. I'll give another minute, let people come in.
And Tori is coming in.
Awesome.
Hey, Tori.
Hi, Tori.
Welcome,
Hello.
welcome.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon. Oh, I loved your affirmations that you shared in the group.
Oh,
So good.
I really, yeah, I'm very new to it, and yeah, I've found it very helpful, very empowering, very nice to be kind of thoughtful about what I want to focus on. So yeah, it was a good lesson.
I love it. No, it's awesome. I am the parent my children needs or something like that. Like I've used a similar one before, I think is just really, really beautiful and brings so much confidence when you're in those situations of just like,
Mm,
what do I do? Like, no, I'm the one that knows how to do this for these specific children. Anyway, I love that one.
that's really
So
good.
good. So
I kind of,
inspiring. I love hearing people's.
yeah,
What were
yeah,
you
I
gonna
do
say?
too. Well, I had years ago, my mother-in-law she likes to give books out, and one year she gave me a book, and that was the title of the book. Um,
Hmm.
and I hadn't really thought about it in a while, but I was like, that's kind of what I need to remind myself, especially when um, I feel like I might be not doing a great job at this or that, or faced with a new challenge with one of my kids or something. It's a good one.
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Hi, Ella. Hi, Brad.
Yeah, welcome.
Welcome, welcome.
Well, I just got a note from Natalie who said she's stuck at the doctor's office and she's gonna have to watch it delayed, but yay, here's Lynette. I say let's get started, shall we? We did
Perfect.
have, as some of you were coming in, we were talking a little bit about affirmations and mantras that Tori had shared, a couple in the group on the app, and Ella shared some. I love the picture that you put with yours, Ella. Like even better to add another oh, what's the word I'm looking for? Senses. You're another sense with, just saying the affirmation or the mantra, but then having like a visual, a feeling, a smell, like amazing. Love it. Love it. Well, I don't want to leave affirmations and mantras, but we're going to just add upon them today with a lesson on visualization, which I am really excited about. So I'm going to remind us first about a good intention maybe for the class. We often talk about this, and we'll talk about it again next week. But remember non-judgment. Just invite you to set an intention for our class today, to welcome curiosity. If you even want to just take a deep breath right now and just imagine putting judgment outside the door of whatever room you're in. Just choose non-judgment. It will definitely enhance the information that you take in today. So if you want to just take a minute, choose curiosity. let go of judgment. And we are going to let Kim start us out with a guided meditation.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Let's just start by, if you were able to, just take a minute to take a few deep breaths. Take a few deep breaths and just kind of loosen up a little bit, settle into wherever you're sitting or standing, and go ahead and close your eyes if you're able to. And let's do just a little check-in on our breath. Are we breathing slow? Are we breathing fast? Are our breaths shallow? Are they coming from the chest? Are they coming from the belly? Just kind of be aware of what's going on for you right now. How are you feeling? What would you like to invite in to this, to prepare for this class? And then let's just take a minute to extend our breath, to elongate that inhale, taking in a deep breath and letting it all out. Just take a moment to really connect to your breath, reminding yourself that there's nowhere else you need to be. There's nothing else you need to be doing. That for right now, you can be open to curiosity and grounded with your intention to learn. I want you to imagine in your mind that wherever you are right now, the roof, it's a beautiful sunny day. It's a beautiful sunny day outside, and the roof has been taken off of wherever you're at, whatever room you're in. The roof just kind of peels back, and we can feel the sunshine flooding. As it starts to flood into the room, it starts on our head, and it warms and it calms as it moves down the body to your forehead. You can feel it on your nose. You can feel it on your cheeks. You can feel the warmth of the light of the sun. And wherever the sun touches, you seem to relax. And then as you look up to the sun, you feel it come onto your neck, onto your shoulders. And as the warmth rests on your shoulders, you relax your shoulders. You feel the warmth of the sun on your biceps, on your arms, on your hands. You feel the warmth and the relaxation of the sun. You feel it go down your body to your abdomen, to your legs, to your thighs, to your knees, to your calves, even down to the tips of your toes. You feel the warmth of that beautiful sunlight all over your body, inviting you to relax, inviting you to take a moment of rest. If there's any specific areas that feel tension, allow that sunlight to penetrate that area a little deeper. Breathe into that space. Allow the muscles to relax. Feeling the warmth of the sun. And while you're here in this beautiful state of rest and relaxation, I want you to visualize a part of your day today. This could be maybe you're going out with your kids, maybe you have a meeting that you're looking forward to, or one that you're anticipating. Maybe it's dinner with the family. Maybe it's your evening routine, but just imagine any part of your day that's coming up for you that you might need a little bit of help with. And once you have that in your mind, I want you to think of how you want to show up for that particular event. What will it look like? Who will be with you? What will your surroundings be like? What are some of the words that you might want to say? How do you want to feel in this particular experience? Just take a moment to allow your mind to fill in all the details. Take a mental rehearsal of what you would like to have happen and how you want to show up in this experience. Wonderful job. Now, you may want to practice one of your affirmations. Maybe it goes along with the experience that you envisioned of how you want to show up. You can practice that in your mind as well. I am, and then fill in the blank of how you want to show up in this experience. Let's connect that affirmation to our breath. And as we breathe in, repeat that affirmation in your mind. Taking a deep inhale. And repeating again on the exhale. Inhaling, repeating the mantra in your mind. And exhale. One more time. Wonderful job allowing your breath to go back to its natural breathing pattern. Feel free to open your eyes, wiggle your fingers and your toes, and come back to this moment ready to be guided and learn from Jessica.
Well, actually, I'm feeling like it would be worth pausing for a minute before we actually get into the lesson, because that was just a beautiful demonstration example of visualization meditation, which is what we're going to be talking about today. But I would love if a couple of you would be willing to share what that was like for you. Like, could you actually feel the sun penetrating parts of your body? Was it hard for you? Could you actually visualize a part of your day, and did it help you plan some things that maybe you hadn't thought of? Would a couple of you be willing to share? Just go ahead and unmute yourself. And if you weren't in a position where you could really do that meditation, don't feel bad. You can go back and redo it with the recording.
I would love to share.
Please.
So I live in Rexburg, Idaho, and it is very rainy right now. And I think that I suffer a little bit with oh my gosh, what is it called? Seasonal depression. Like when the weather is just gloomy, it makes me feel gloomy. And so I was actually doing my hair while I was listening, and I've kind of been having a poor attitude today, like about the weather, because my kids are still, it's still summer for us here and it's not school time. And so when she was saying, like, imagine that the roof, there was no roof and that the sun is just shining down on you, like, I could literally feel it. And it just changed my mood. Like, I started to smile while I was doing my hair. And I thought, you know what? Even though the weather is crappy outside, I can still choose to feel the sun and to welcome the light and the warmth into my day instead of welcoming the gloomy and the rainy and the not so good parts of my day. So I loved that. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
I
much for
love that.
sharing, Maddie.
So
Yeah.
good.
Isn't that incredible? Like already to experience how powerful visualization and the brain can be on our mood, on our emotions, on our
Yeah,
day. Thank you so much.
totally.
Anyone else?
So I'll share. So for people, Jessica knows me and I can be pretty task oriented. So I'm checking down the list all the time. It's the first thing I think of when I wake up in the morning and the last thing I think of when I go to sleep at night is the checklist. But today, and sometimes that's a real driver for me, which is not good for sleeping. But today we have a big dinner that Wade and I are kind of hosting and responsible for in Orlando today. There'll be 35 of us together. And that helped me think of my mantra, which has to do with my word for this half of the year, which is joy. And that I just want to have joy while I'm there. I don't want to be thinking about, did you bring the plates? Do you have the tomatoes cut? I mean, all that stuff will work out. These are all grown-ups. We're not toddlers. So dinner will be great. Everything's going to be great. And I just want to be there and have joy. And so I just thought about my mantra, which is, in this life, I shall have joy. And I think it's kind of set my mind for tonight. So it's going to be great. So thank you.
I love that. I love
Thank you
that.
for sharing.
Which just imagine for a second, like something that does go wrong tonight. Maybe they didn't cut the tomatoes there, whatever. Like when your intention is, I'm going to have joy, that's not going to be that big of a deal. It's not going to throw you off for the entire evening. You'll be in a different headspace. Oh, that's beautiful. Thank
Yep.
you, Lynette.
Thank you.
Well, I don't want to rush on if anyone else had something to share. Okay. Thanks so much for being willing to share, and thank you for that beautiful meditation, Kim. So to start us off in our learning about really kind of breaking down what visualization is, go ahead and throw in the chat something that you are afraid of. Now, maybe you're not afraid of anything, but I'm talking like worst case, best case scenario. Like it could be mice, it could be bugs, it could be, national disaster or whatever. Just throw in the chat if there is something that you are afraid of. And let's see. Okay, spiders, Maddie. Yes, my sister is sickly scared of lizards. Okay, not being able to feed my kids or keep them warm, having regrets, failing as a mom, car accidents. Okay, legit concerns. Like even spiders, like sometimes spiders can, if you get a bite, that can be really harmful, right? Sometimes we fail to realize that we are already using visualization. A lot of those fears that you mentioned are kind of worst case scenarios of if this happens, if that happens, and it becomes a fear because you've visualized if that happened. Your brain has kind of gone down that path and it brings fearful emotions, right? But there's a pendulum, and they teach this in psychiatry. There's a pendulum that you can swing from best case scenario to worst case scenario. And fear is using visualization in that worst case scenario. But what can be really beautiful is learning how to use visualization in a helpful way. Visualization is also known as visual imagery. So it's using your imagination to create mental pictures in your mind. So if I were to tell you or ask you, have a conversation with you about your fear, you could probably paint a pretty good picture of, well, if this happened and then that happened and then I wasn't able to feed my family, or it was cold, or whatever it is, because you have used your mind to create those pictures. But visualization can be used to help shift our perspective. Just barely in the visualization meditation that we did with Kim, thinking about that dinner tonight, like Lynette just talked about, and rather than her to-do list and all the things she might be worried about, shifting her perspective to joy. Visualization can help prepare and teach you how to respond to a situation before it happens. It can help you achieve your goals by conditioning your brain to see, hear, feel that success in your mind. A lot of athletes use it, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But visualization, whether you know it or not, you're already using, maybe in a less helpful way, maybe in a helpful way. So I love explaining a little bit about how visualization works in the brain. So brain studies reveal that thoughts produce the same mental instructions as actions, those neural pathways. So something that you just think, your body is experiencing it as if it were really happening. Like Maddie feeling the sunshine. It was able to affect her mood because it was as if she was actually feeling it. It's a rainy day where she is. So she's not actually feeling it, but science has shown that our brain and our bodies can work the same as if it's really happening. We learned last week about your reticular activating system. So that's that filter at the back of your brain stem that helps your brain filter information that's useful or not useful. So it kind of helps you know what to look for. Visualization uses and trains that reticular activating system in a way that uses your senses instead of just words. It helps you really focus in on something that you want to have happen, you want to prepare for. And the mental imagery or visualization impacts many of your cognitive processes in the brain, your motor control, your attention, your perception, your planning. Like if any of you, and I mean, Lynette described, but like when Kim said, think about something in your day, there's something that I want to do tonight with my kids. We start school tomorrow and there's something I want to do. It allowed me to just add a little bit of structure and intentionality about, I already knew I wanted to do it, but I had a few ideas come to mind as I visualized doing that. It's going to allow me to be more productive and do a little better what I wanted to do with my kids. It's amazing. So I wanted to share with you this study, Fredrickson and Brannigan film clip study, where what they did is had this group of people and exposed them to 5 different film clips. A film clip that was about joy, one that was about contentment, one that was just kind of neutral, neither felt good nor bad, one having to do with fear, and one having to do with anger. And then they invited everyone that was participating in this study to take a moment after each one of these clips to imagine being in a situation themselves where they felt that emotion. So after, there's a clip about joy, whatever that looked like. Now imagine in your life a scenario where you have or would feel joy. They were invited to think on that and really feel that as deeply as they could, that emotion. And then they did that for all of them: contentment, neutral, fear, and anger. And then after each one of them, they asked them a question. They said, please list all the things you'd like to do right now. And what is really interesting is after the positive emotions, the joy and the contentment, there were way more things that they felt like doing. And came to found that these positive emotions promote more ways of thinking and responding compared to neutral or sad emotions. So these positive emotions facilitate wider than usual attention, like what you're perceiving in your environment, cognition, the range of ideas and concepts that you can think of, and action urges, things that one feels like doing, almost like motivation, which is really beautiful because I think all of us know what it's like when we don't feel like doing anything. I know I need to do this. Oh, I have on my to-do list that I've got to do that today. I don't feel like doing anything. Oh, I just need some motivation. But what is so beautiful of what this study shows is that those positive emotions can help get you to where you want to be. So visualization itself is a neutral tool. It's one that, like we, talked about with thinking about your fears, it's one that can maybe be a little bit harmful, or it's one that can be really helpful. It can be a catalyst for change and improvement. And I love this word that I've known what it means, but these last few weeks I've learned about a catalyst. When you have a chemical experiment and you want to see what happens between these two different substances, they'll often add a catalyst, which doesn't change the outcome of the experiment, but it makes it happen quicker or bigger. So you can see it in a way that you haven't seen it before. So visualization can be that catalyst for change and improvement. It can speed up the process. It can make you more effective. It can bring about that change in a quicker way. Visualization can help us take positive action and invite us to imagine the possibilities of our life rather than focus on the problems, which we're going to give you an opportunity at the end of class to think about how something in your life could be changed and benefited by visualization. So I'm going to give you a couple more real life examples.
Can I just say one
Please.
thing on the study?
Yeah.
So
Oh, sure.
on the movie clip study, when it was so interesting to me that the people that had those positive emotions had 3 times more things on their list than those who felt the negative emotion. And I think it's interesting because when we feel, and I love teaching this because we've all felt it, that when we have when we feel stuck, when we feel that kind of feeling, our brain naturally focuses in on the problem. And so it's really hard to move past that, whatever it is that's kind of getting us stuck. And that's it's kind of, last time we talked about how negative words and negative feelings and negative things kind of go down that spiral. Well, it's the same for visualization. If we're imagining things to be the very worst, it's going to be a catastrophe. It's going to be awful. It's going to be so scary. I'm going to do a horrible job. That is visualization. And that is taking you down the spiral and getting you stuck in those feelings. But if we can shift that to a more positive state, to give us more possibilities, more opportunities, sometimes an affirmation can do that, can put us into a better state of mind to imagine possibilities instead of problems. So I just wanted to kind of iterate that again, that it's so similar to affirmations, that we can spiral down in visualization, or we can also spiral up in visualization.
Such a good ad and so helpful to remember. A couple quick other examples. The Cleveland Clinic did a study where they were trying to help people increase their finger strength. So they put them in 3 different groups. One group, they had do exercises with their fingers. So I don't know exactly what it was, but if you just imagine going out, up, try it, if you will, like with your finger, just out, up. Yeah, pretty simple. The second group, they had do that same practice, but just in their minds. So try it if you will. Close your eyes and see if without moving your finger, you can imagine that same out, up, out, up. Same movement with your finger, but just mentally. Yes. So then third group, they had do nothing. So what is really interesting, of course, the group that was doing it physically over a certain period of time increased their finger strength. And again, I don't know exactly what the exercises were, but they increased by 53%. The mental training group that just did it in their minds increased their finger strength by 35%. Just by doing it mentally.
And the physical group, they actually had like a little, it's basically like a finger resistance band. So not only was it like their own strength, but they were like really working those muscles. And which is incredible to show that like with even an apparatus, you gain that much strength, but just using your mind, not moving your finger at all, increased by 35%.
Again, the power of the brain. So amazing. So this next example, this gentleman who was a Soviet dissident, an Israeli politician, human rights activist, was put into prison for 13 years by the USSR, accused of spying for the United States. So he's in prison for 13 years. While there, he has a makeshift chessboard that he draws on his wall and practices his chess game. Comes out, beats the world champion chess player. Just by practicing his chess game. Granted, he had a lot of time, but just by practicing it in his mind, he was then able to improve his game. Many of you have probably heard stories of other, prisoners of war. There's a couple others that I know. One that practiced his golf game came out and had improved it by a certain amount. The power of the mind is incredible. So we might not want to improve our finger strength or our chess game. How do we use visualization in our lives right now? We can use it for progress, to overcome a current challenge, to help heal our hearts from a past trial or hardship, to prepare for an upcoming event. We can use it in current relationships. How can I see this person or this situation differently? Remembering that because of our reticular activating system, we find what we're looking for. If I'm telling myself, oh, my teacher hates me, or oh, she's so annoying, or oh, we never get along. If I'm telling myself that, remember, my brain is looking for things to support what I'm telling myself. Visualization can help me to broaden my horizon and decide how I want to show up in a relationship. We can also use it for goal setting. It's actually something that here at Ampelis we use a lot in something we call VFA, where you use visualization to visualize what you want, what goal you want. You feel the emotions. You focus in on, okay, of that outcome, what do I need to work on first? And then what action am I going to take? It can be a huge help in goal setting. And I love this reminder that from Andrew Huberman that we quote quite a bit because he's very based in the science and the research. But he said in every study we've reviewed, using visualization always leads to improvement in real world performance. And I just came across yesterday just some quick an article that talked about how Simone Biles, if we're just thinking about the Olympics, she uses meditation, visualization. Manur Bakar, I don't know if I'm saying her name right, but she was a gold medalist from India who also used it. Djokovic, the tennis player, he meditates daily. There's a winner in the long jump. I'm not going to try to say her name. That gold medalist uses visualization every day. LeBron James uses it. Carrie Walsh and Misty Trainer, who have won the gold at 2 or 3 times in beach volleyball. There was a whole list. It even talked about how the Seattle Seahawks, the reason they won the 2014 Super Bowl was because they were using meditation in their practices consistently. It's not going to take you too long to find examples of people that use this in the sports world, because there may be a little bit more in the public eye. You read things, you see things in social media, but in the everyday challenges, it is also so useful. Do you have anything you wanted to add, Kim, before I move on?
I sometimes when we think about visualization and repetition, we can think about like maybe going over your gymnastics routine over and over and over again in your mind. But one of the things that I think is so powerful is that you can visualize the emotion that you want to feel while whatever is coming up. Like how do you want to feel in that particular area also creates those neurons and neural pathways in the body. And that when I realized that and started practicing that, not only did I show up the way that I wanted to, but I was able to be more open to the emotion that I wanted to feel. And that was a huge game changer for me.
Which I think is so much of what these athletes do. Of you don't want to be super nervous right before your race. Like, how am I going to shift that? What am I going to feel? What am I going to say? It's beautiful. I'm going to share a few examples now, and Kim's going to throw some in too, of just like totally regular everyday person like me using visualization. And before that, I just wanted to invite you to pull out your notebook. Page 44 has a space for this, for you to just see what comes to mind if you were to think of a relationship or a personal, like something you want to work on or a challenge you're facing, and just see what comes to mind and write those things down, a way that you would want to use visualization if you could. I'm going to give you a minute. Just see what comes to mind. Something you want to improve right now. We have about 15 more seconds. I don't know about you guys, but I had a couple come to mind that I was like, why have I not used visualization for this already? That just made me excited to practice some of what I'm preaching right now. These reminders are so good. It allows you to make this blueprint, right? Visualize the thing that you want. See it, feel it, believe it. Make your mental blueprint and begin to build. So first example, and I had to put this quote with it, there isn't a person you wouldn't love if you could read their whole story, because I have had to learn this with this child, and Kim knows, like I almost always cry when I talk about her. She has given me more opportunities to practice the tools of mindfulness than any of my other children. I just call her my gift now. But this darling daughter of mine, several years ago, we were having the hard, I mean, she's already naturally really stubborn, like very hard-headed. She's always right, mom's always wrong. And I know it's going to serve her well someday. but we were having a really hard time with piano practicing. This is something that's important to me. I want my kids to learn how to play the piano, you know, whether it's the best for them or not. I just have strong feelings about it. So we're sitting down to do piano practicing, and not joking, almost every time we both would leave in tears. When I say, oh, actually, that's an F sharp, sweetie. No, it's not. No, it is. I've been taking piano for 30 years. I know it. That's an F sharp. No, it's not, Mom. No, it's not. My teacher said that, and she'd, go on to her thing. And so I'd try to say what I thought was helpful. And then she'd get all worked up. And then I'd got all worked up. I mean, it sounds so silly now, but it was really hard. So one morning, I sat in my meditation and I decided to just visualize us at the piano. I just started asking a question like, what am I not seeing? Like, what does she need that I'm not doing? Like, this should not be this hard. And I just sat there and looked, visualized us at the piano, visualized her getting all upset and frustrated, and just kept asking that question, like, what does she need? What am I not seeing? And I had the idea come to mind to say to her, I hear you. I thought, okay, just say to her, I hear you. And it just shifted my perspective in a way that allowed me to see that she did not feel heard. She was trying to express things, and whatever I was saying back to her, because I was right and she was wrong, just made it feel that she was not heard. So I practiced that in my mind a couple of times, just getting down on her level, looking at her face and saying, I hear you. Lo and behold, opportunity to practice this came that very day. And I think she had just come home from school and she wanted something for a snack after school that was not an after school snack option. And she started getting really worked up, and I started getting a little bit worked up because she knows that that's not a snack option. And then my meditation came to mind from that morning. And I just looked in her face and I said, I hear you. I hear you. Do you know what happened? Her entire body just relaxed. And I said, I know you really want to have that for a snack, but let's pick something healthier first and we can have that another time. And she looked at me and said, okay, Mom. I was like, okay. Like the littlest thing that, because I was willing to sit with it for a minute, I was able to see a different perspective, which has helped significantly in our relationship these last few years. And I've used it with some of my other children as well. But simple, just a few minutes in the morning. And if I would have not remembered in that moment to use it, and then later that night thought, oh, I didn't use that, practice it again, more opportunities would have come. So in a relationship, the next one also has to do with the relationship. And this comes from a client that I worked with who had just recently come out of a really, really difficult divorce. And she was sitting in parking lot, just pulled up to go to a store that was right next to a gym. And right before she got out, she sees her ex-husband walking out of the gym with the girlfriend that he cheated on her with and decided to leave her for. And all the emotions, all the feelings, like couldn't get out of her car, completely paralyzed. And as we're talking through this, I invited her to go back to that situation and visualize it, but imagine she was sitting up on a cloud, just kind of looking down at the situation happening, them walking out of the gym. And just to be open to any thoughts or feelings that came as she thought about this situation again that had brought up so many hard feelings. As she sat there for just a couple minutes, she said, wow. She said, I can see what he's chosen, leaving 6 kids who now all have very strange relationships with him. None of them want to spend time with him. And she just started rattling off this list of things that she was seeing for the first time. And she said, do you know what I'm feeling? I'm feeling compassion. And it was so beautiful to witness how, again, that shift in perspective. No, it didn't make everything in her life okay. No, it didn't completely heal all of the trauma that came from that, but it did a little bit. It softened her heart a little bit, allowing her to continue in her growth and progression from this really hard challenge that she was facing. Again, sitting with it for a moment, which takes a little bit of time, which guess what? In our culture, that's not naturally added into our schedules usually to sit in stillness. Got to plan it in. Maybe you set a time on your calendar to just allow yourself to sit. I'm going to add a short caveat that I was going to add later, but just a reminder that sometimes when you use visualization, which they use it in all sorts of, counseling and, different practices where you go to have someone help you heal hard things. If you notice in visualization that you start to feel very strong feelings and emotions because you're going back to a place that you don't want to go, but unless you do, you'll never get through it. A beautiful thing to remember is to use your senses to ground you. Hold on to your chair. Rub your skin. Take some deep breaths. Open your eyes for a minute. Just remember, I'm here now. I'm okay. Use your senses to ground. But the only way to the other side of something is through it. And so visualization can be a beautiful powerful tool, along with other things, along with maybe counseling, along with maybe medication, there's all sorts of things that you can have in your toolkit, but visualization can be a powerful one. A future visualization one that was really helpful for me and a little bit more lighthearted. I sat a couple years ago, right before I was about to decorate our house for Christmas. And I remember having the thought I want this Christmas to feel a little bit different. Well, how can I make it a little bit more special, a little bit more meaningful for my children? So I decided to take it to my practice and sat for a minute visualizing, what do I want our home to feel like? What kind of smells and sights and sounds, what do I want to have happen this month during the Christmas holiday? And it was so beautiful, some of the ideas that came. The idea of, something that's important in my life is having a nativity out because Jesus is an important part in my life. And I had the idea to put that as our dining table centerpiece rather than just, somewhere on a shelf or something. So created a whole centerpiece with that as the focus. I had an idea for something I could do after they come home from school during that month, and just little simple things that changed the feeling of our home. Visualization for the future, similar to what Kim took you through earlier today. Something Kim and I have talked about is using it to visualize the whole day. Okay, this is what I have today. This is how I want to show up to this. This is how I want that to go. Can be so powerful. So I'm just rolling these out here to just hopefully share a few real life examples that maybe one you can relate to. Real briefly, another client that I had who had a grandpa that was passing away. She was 12 and she was sitting by her grandpa's side. The whole family was in there. Oh, I didn't think about sharing this one right now. It's kind of close to home for our family, but she was crying really hard. And at one point, her grandma turned to her dad and said, "Can you take her out, please? She's being way too loud." So her dad takes her out of the room and her grandpa passes away a few minutes later. And years later, that was a really hard place for her to go because she didn't feel like she got to say goodbye. She loved her grandpa. They were really close. She was one of the oldest grandchildren. So we sat in a visualization together and invited her to go back to that place and imagine what she would have said to her grandpa. Tell him. What would you have wanted to say? What would you wanted to do? And imagine it in your mind. It was a really beautiful healing experience for her. Yes, she still had other things she had to work through with forgiving her grandma, and it was quite a process because that was really hurtful to her. But again, using visualization to work through something in a really beautiful, healing way. Go ahead, Kim.
Oh, I was gonna just mention another form of healing that happened. I told Jessica last night. It was a strange, I'd never had it happen before. I was frustrated about issue, and I was thinking like, oh, how am I gonna get through this? And I was sitting on my bed and I just kind of laid my head back, kind of like, ugh, you know. And when I laid my head back, the room started spinning. And I had never had that happen before. Maybe some of you have this happen, but even when I closed my eyes, the room was spinning. When I opened my eyes, the room was spinning. And then and I was a little bit freaking out. And I was like, what is happening? And so I immediately went to breath, and I tried to kind of like slow my breath down, calm myself, ground myself, but it was still spinning. And I was like, how am I going to get this to stop? And I closed my eyes, and I imagined, and kind of, I think that my breath allowed me to kind of calm down enough to be able to think of what to do. And I imagine being on a ride. And I really actually really enjoy roller coasters and fun rides and things. And I just imagine myself being on a ride and kind of like spinning around on a ride. This sounds so funny, but and then just imagined it, like literally visualize the ride slowing down and slowing down and slowing down. And I kept breathing, and it took a minute. And then I was able to just stand up and like go get a drink, and it just kind of passed. But it was this moment of like, I didn't know what to do. I couldn't mentally like will myself to make the room stop, but I could relax myself enough to come up with other solutions. And that was the solution that my was brain offered me. And so I was like, okay, I'm on the ride. And then let's slow it down and slow it down, slow it down. And so I just maybe just another example of using these tools in ways that we would never maybe think of imagining using them. But when we can tap into our calm, our rested state, we are more creative, and we're able to come up with new solutions. So that was just one that happened last night.
Amazing. And to echo what Kim said, that like when you have these tools at your disposal, which can happen with just a little bit of practice every day, practicing a few deep breaths, practicing a mantra. Like I promise, the little bits of practice that you put in to this class and beyond will allow you to have those tools at your disposal. And this last example I was going to share, this sweet brother of mine, and it's going to be super brief, but years back did something that was really hurtful to my husband and I. And it happened the week before a family reunion where we were all going to be together. Still not quite sure why he chose that timing, but I remember just feeling like I do not want to ruin this family reunion. Like if I have these really hard feelings going into this, that's not going to be fun. We're not going to want to be there. And so I sat in my meditation and I just visualized being filled with love for him. I knew there were things that I didn't understand. He had just had twins. His life was turned upside down. Like there were things that he was dealing with that I didn't understand and I didn't know of at that time. So I just imagined visualizing seeing him and being filled with love. Filled with love. And I just repeated practicing that every morning of the reunion. He told, I'm not sure who it was, but he didn't even know if I knew the situation before the family reunion because he didn't feel any hard feelings from me during the reunion. And I was so grateful for that because yeah, there's things that happen in life that you can't control. You'd never choose again. But when you choose to use your tools, the insights that come are so, so powerful and helpful. Remembering again, if something triggering comes up while you're visualizing with any way you choose to use this, use your senses, use your breath, come back to reality for a minute, and please reach out if you think you need professional help. That's what it's there for. And Kim and I are happy to help offer suggestions in that area as well, if that's something that you think would help. Because remember, this is not just like a one tool fixes all. There are all sorts of tools on your wellness journey, and it's so beautiful to have lots of tools at your disposal. So just a quick reminder, when you're going to practice visualization, just like any meditation, find a comfortable place, remove distractions, close your eyes, and then just visualize the situation, the person, the goal, whatever it is. Bring in as many smells, feelings, sounds you can to really make it real. Remember, what happens in our brain, our bodies respond to as if it's really happening. Use your senses to ground you if you need. And then a really important piece is to be open. What can I learn? What am I not seeing? How can I see this differently? And then wait. If your mind wanders, that's totally normal. Bring it back. Whenever you notice how, like, oh, hey, good job. I just noticed my mind wandered. Bring it back. Give yourself that little bit of space and time. So I would love to open up for a few minutes to breakout rooms. If you're comfortable, love for you to just pick a scenario or situation that you just wrote down. If you're not open to that, that's okay. You can think of something else. But I'd love to just have an opportunity to discuss with each other. This is the situation I want to use visualization for. I think if I sit with it, this is what happened. This just kind of a discussion with each other, listening in a way that's not judgmental, just asking questions. The others in the room, all I want you to do is just ask questions to kind of get the ball rolling for each other on what a visualization could look like around this scenario. So pick something off your list or something else that comes to mind that's, less personal if you want, and just share the situation and allow the others in the room to ask a question or two. And we'll just go around. We have 3 minutes. Just share, ask a couple questions, and let's just do rooms of 2. And if you don't want to be in a room, just send a quick chat real quick and say, don't include me, and we'll make sure you're not in one of the rooms. Does that sound okay, Kim?
Yeah, that's great.
I'll look at the chat real quick.
So let's see.
So Lynette has to leave. So don't
Okay.
include her.
Okay.
Rooms of 2. I think the Ampelis one said not to include him either. Oh, Rebecca has to go. Okay, we'll see you in a few.
Let me just recreate these. Sorry with those new
You're good. Be thinking about what on your list, everyone, or if there's something else that you'd be open to sharing for a minute.
Okay. Oh my goodness, this is not okay. Okay, there we go. Okay.
And we're back. So
For some reason it actually, oh, can you see everyone?
Yeah, no,
now it says all breakout rooms will close in 30 seconds. I don't know why I did that.
Well, that's okay. We'll finish here and just invite you to look at your list and pick as your meaningful action a time to visualize, use visualization for one of these challenges that you're facing or something that's coming up in your life, and practice what we talked about today in our lesson. And I'm so excited to hear how it goes. I hope you'll share in the app or next week in class, but remember, a little bit goes a long way. So if it's only just a couple of minutes, oh yay, here's the rest. Welcome back. Welcome back. That's weird. It like did a weird like ending breakout rooms.
Double
Okay, just
ending.
kidding. Now
Yeah.
there's 30 more seconds. We were like, okay, I guess they're gone. Glad you're here. Glad you're here. So just wanted to, and just invited everyone else to just now try it out this week. Choose a situation, a challenge, a goal, whatever it is, and plan some time for visualization this week. No expectations. Again, important to remember that non-judgment piece. If you're just sitting there and like nothing's coming, no ideas, no whatever, like that's okay. That's normal. It takes a little bit of time. Might want to do it again later that day, or maybe tomorrow. Maybe you need a little bit more time with it. So just encourage you as your meaningful action, right then, maybe something from your list over under here, which circumstance will I use visualization with this week? And share on the app if you want, if you have something that you think would benefit others, because you never know who is going through something very similar to you. So open it up for questions, comments, anyone? Ella and Mandy or Lon, the last few standing today.
I was just sharing with Ella. I loved you guys sharing that bit about the research that visualizing the finger exercises improved 35%. That was huge. Yeah.
Huge. And
Yeah.
there's so many more studies that have replicated that. They've taken people and put them in casts, like that haven't broken their arms. Just like a huge group of people, put everyone in a cast, and then had some people do visualization and some people do nothing. And the group that did visualization showed an exponential growth in arm strength. And they know that they didn't do anything because their arm was immobilized in a cast. So it's so cool. There's such cool research.
Worth implementing, trying out in our own lives for improving something. Yeah.
Yeah, Mandy and I talked about how like different changes in our lives or things happening, how you can't maybe change those circumstances, but wanting to change the way it impacts you. Like something that you might be like, oh, this is draining me, or this is changing my schedule, or this is like now this huge thing that I have to adapt to, instead being like, this is going to build confidence. This is going to energize me. So kind of combining our visualizations with some of our mantras was fun to acknowledge and talk about.
Yes. Oh, what a great way to really just apply and combine so much of what we've been learning. And I think that awareness piece is so important in that, because like I shared with some of you when we were writing down, I think it was last week in mantras, like I realized something that I've been saying to myself that I wasn't even fully cognizant of about something in my life, that I'm just like, oh my goodness, I didn't even realize I was saying that. And now that I'm aware, I can change it to just like you said, yes, oh, this actually energizes me, or this builds like, I love that, Ella. Any questions about trying to apply it this week, or other comments?
I'm curious, Kim and Jessica, do you like have a pattern in your lives of like meditating and visualizing every morning? Is it something that you like pause in a day, in a moment when you need it, and that's when you do it? What is your habit of that visualization? Because Jessica, like you said, it takes time. So I wondered if you have a routine about it, or if it's something that's still evolving.
It's a good question. Do you want to go first, Kim?
Sure, yeah. So it kind of depends on the circumstance. I'll give you an example of one that took a long time, and that was a difficult relationship. And it was someone that I saw often, and so I had a lot of practice. And so I would incorporate that weekly, if not daily, in my meditation practice to really, I had to work through, it wasn't easy for me to just go right to, I'm going to be happy when I see them, or I'm going to be joyful, or I'm going to act this way. Like I really had to work through like what at first I am going to be this, and then I can build on that emotion. And so that's one that did take probably for sure weekly. Like I like to do, I'm getting into the details, which you'll make it your own, and it'll be so much better than anything that I say right now. But my Sunday meditations are longer than my daily meditations. And my Sunday meditations are, I feel like I kind of like, they're kind of like a working session. Like I'm not just going to invite light and visualize goodness. I'm going to like work on something. Like what is friction? What's hard that I really need to progress at, that's maybe not going to feel so happy. Um, and then my daily sessions, I use visualization, especially when I'm about to teach. So if I know that I'm going to teach that day, I love to visualize your faces. Even if it's just these little squares on my computer, and I love to visualize your faces. I love to visualize my energy, your energy. And so that's something that's kind of more of like a, okay, this, I know this is coming up, so that's what I'm going to do that morning. Or if I forget that morning, literally just like in a prayer before class, or as I'm doing my hair, like just thinking through it or whatever. So visualization doesn't have to be sitting on a pillow or where, like in your room. It can totally be like as you're driving to pick up your kids, that reminder of like, how do I want to feel when they get in the car? Those transition moments are so powerful. But a lot of times we don't use them because it's just like, I'm getting from here to here to here to here. And it's just happening to me instead of, okay, I'm in the carpool. How do I want to show up right now when my kids get into the car? Or I'm at home cutting up vegetables, or dinner time, and I'm about to gather the family together. What do I want to feel like when they all come into the kitchen, you know? And and a lot of times, we didn't talk a lot about this today, but visualizing opposition is another really helpful thing to do, to say, when my kids come in crabby and Kate hates dinner, and this person is grabby, trying to rush out the door, how am I going to react to that circumstance? So that's another way that I really like to use visualization, is to imagine obstacles as well. So sorry, that was a long answer. Hopefully that gave you a few ideas, Jessica.
Oh yeah, all I would add to that is I just love how personal and individual, your own practice is and should be. And that's too what I love about practicing each of these tools enough that then you can say, and what mine looks like is I have, I love to have a time for meditation in my morning routine, but often it's, what do I need today? I might need to just breathe. I have a huge calendar and there's a lot happening today, so I just need to take some calming breaths. It's going to be okay. Or there are times when, like a relationship or a challenge or something that's in my life, that I need a mantra for. And a month and a half is pretty consistent for me of needing to practice that mantra before it's completely wired to like, okay, every morning, this is what I'm saying. And now that it's been several years, that time has shortened to where the mantra that I've been practicing this week, like it's coming to mind and it's like feeling so good. But to not be afraid to just like, I'm just working on a mantra for a month, 2 months, 3 months, like to really let it internalize. And then I'll get beautiful reminders from time to time, like this lesson today of just like, I need to tap into that visualization tool and write that down for, on my morning tomorrow to use that to see then what the next step is. That's what for me visualization is most useful for. It teaches me, shows me like what the goal should be or what the next step should be. Thinking about what I want to do tonight with my children's like day before school, meditation and massage, like what does that need to look like for this child versus that child, and preparing for the opposition that's going to come for this, or, you know, like, so that's one of my favorite parts of visualization, is it gives me kind of my next step. So really just planning in that consistent time, I think, is what's most important. And then it happens more naturally as you're cutting vegetables, as you're, you know, I'm less likely to pull this out when I'm waiting in a line or in the car, and I'm more likely to just be present. Okay, what do I need to soak in right now? What do I need to prepare for? Which all of the like great mindfulness masters, I love, that's what they talk about. Like, it's really just becomes a part of life. And so hopefully that answers your question. Well, you guys are wonderful. I can tell you're applying what you're learning, and excited to see you again next week. Maybe not you, Mandy, but good luck with work, and you can listen in after.
Good luck with work, Mandy. Thanks for sharing. Thanks, Kim. Thanks, Jessica.
Thanks,
Yeah,
you guys.
thanks so much, guys. I'll miss you. Mwah. See ya.
See
Bye.
you.